Okay. Good morning, everyone. I'm not sure why you're not showing up on my screen, but here we are. And thank you and welcome for tuning in to Ditch the Pitch. I hope all of you downloaded this, what I call the Business Snapshot. Because the first thing I always say now is selling is not a spectator sport. It comes with practice. And the intention of this document was before you pick up the phone and before you start blabbing out to people on what you do, is you got to do your homework. I'll give you a case study. Earlier last year, I worked on a project for a client who was a marketing genius, but really sucked at selling. And it was a challenge because it was a service that had never been sold before, and it was targeting realtors, real estate agents, which are, Tara, as you're on the call, they're tough negotiators. So selling to realtors is really quite a tough a prospect to do. And before I started calling, I had to nail my feet to the ground and do my research, do my homework. But what it did is it led me to the total belief that there's no more cold calling, but when you know your market, you know your value, and you know your proposition of the benefits you bring to somebody, it is a much easier sell. And so that's why it's always warm calling these days. When you've nailed your ideal market, you can give them a job title, you give them a demographic, a psychographic, you know where they shop, you know where they hang out, what groups they belong to, what ages they are. When you know that and you know the value you bring based on past clients, then it's just so much easier. Then it's no longer a pitch. And to finish off that little case study, so it's called In the Know Local. It's about producing local content exclusively for one realtor in one city. When I was given a list of people to call, like I said, I had to nail my feet to the ground and say, no, you got to do your homework. So I looked and did a short list. I looked on their websites. With social media, we've got so much information about everyone in the world. So I looked at who I wanted to deal with. And that's really important. And because I was dealing with women, as my client was a woman, I'm a woman, I want to empower and work with women to make them more successful. So what happened is I figured out, okay, this is my short list, and I'll pick one. I picked Joette in Oakville and said, she's the one I want to deal with. So the good news is realtors always have their numbers publicly listed because they'll take calls from anyone. So I called her up, got her interested, said, the usual, send me more information. I did. A week later, of course, she hadn't looked at it, but she took my call and went, yeah, I'm still, you're intriguing. This In the Know Local, I'd be exclusive. I'd be becoming known as the community champion. It's like, okay, let's meet. It's like, okay, so set the meeting up, brought my other contact in. 45 minutes into that meeting, Joette said, so how do we start? How do we start? How do we get started? I didn't even have to ask for the order. And it wasn't a huge sale, but $6,000 is not a kick in the pants for something that's never been sold before. And that's where my forte is having the ability to sell things that never been sold before. And so that's where, proved to me that my advice about selling in a situation, these days you have to do your research. So before we get to the pitch, which is on the far right-hand side, that's why you got to fill in the blanks here. You got to really know. The thing is, where I'm different from many coaches is that I was what they call a bag-carrying sales professional for about 20 years, which meant I had a territory and a quota, and I had to go out and sell every day, basically. I had targets to meet. If I didn't meet them, I didn't make as much money as I had expected. So that wasn't a good thing. So just to step back another stage, is in November, I facilitated a 3-day workshop at a community incubator for female entrepreneurs. And they were using this thing called the business model canvas. And everybody talks about having different business models and how do you make money. So 40 odd years ago, for my sins, I got an MBA, which way before it became trendy, because if anybody knows me, you know I'm not a follow the trends kind of person. I'm definitely a disruptor. I go against the grain. But when I was 21, 22, not knowing what I was going to do in life, I thought, well, this MBA, I mean, master's back in the 70s was, pretty big thing to be able to get in and get it. And I thought, well, it'll give me some credibility maybe when I need it in the future. So I do have an MBA. I now will admit to having 40 years of business experience, sales and marketing around the world. And what you have to understand that I started as a really shy geek. My first profession was being a programmer in IT. I was a female tech pioneer until the second time I worked at IBM after I got my business degree and MBA. And IBM hired me again, and they put me into the basic training for 6 months, and that included a weekly sales roll call. And I had no skills whatsoever. I have an MBA in marketing, but we never really got into sales, and it pisses me off that here in Canada we still don't teach sales as a profession. Around the world they do, and it's just slowly coming into being known as a profession, because there is a PhD in sales leadership at Ryerson right now, so it's just a matter of time till they start granting degrees in sales, and it's becoming more known as a profession. So I taught at this 3-day boot camp, and the thing is, they use this thing called I'm sure I've got it somewhere. It looks something like this. It's got 9 segments, and I always say, if it makes my MBA 40 years of experience head hurt, what did it do for the 5 life coaches that were in part of this 25 female entrepreneur? There was a psychic, there was the brow lady, there was a lot of very small micro entrepreneurs. And this model, models are they're always, everybody wants to scale. But the thing is, if you're scaling from $500 a month to $2,500, it's not quite the same as scaling from $50,000 a month to $100,000. The scale is just so different. When you're a solopreneur, a micropreneur, when you don't want to grow an empire, the things that you need to do, that's why I came up with my snapshot, to put in plain English, based on my 40 years of experience, 11 businesses that I started myself. I've worked at another 6 startups in Europe and in Canada. It's based on my experience of what, I sort of went, what do we really need to know? Like, how do you start a business? How do you start selling? So you got to do your homework, okay? You got to start off with identify your market. And what almost 100% of my clients, where they really fall down, is knowing their value. Oops, sorry, I should have had this easier to think. And value comes, I don't know if you can see this, client successes from working with me. Okay, so I've sold millions of dollars. Like I say, selling's not a spectator sport. It's not what I've done. I have the credentials to teach you how to sell your stuff, because what people are buying, they're buying my expertise and what I can do for others. And I like to say, unlike mutual funds, my past results are a pretty good indication of future thing. So if I can help somebody go from sales fear to sales fun, most likely I can help you do that too. And in a way that makes it human. And part of this 3-day boot camp is they kept talking about value propositions, and they had this script, and it's like, and it's really something similar to my 6th column, which is just a start of, what do you do for others? And everybody's, there's so many pitches out there. There's, learn your elevator pitch. And this is the way they taught us at this networking event. And the thing is, all of you, there's 50 people at that networking event, you all come out sounding like robots, to be honest. And that's not the way to sell. The one thing, being a shy introvert, is that, first of all, I learned at a young age is that if you can't say something, at least look interested, ask good questions, and smile a lot, okay? And that's the whole key. And be interested in other people, being curious and caring. And if you sound like a robot, like if you're using an automated social media thing to throw out posts on a daily or hourly basis, you're being a robot. And who have you bought from a robot lately? Do you really want to deal with a robot? No, you want to deal with a person. You know, we talk about business to business selling and business to consumer, and it's really human to human. Nothing has changed in 40 years of selling is that, hey, you out there, Willie and Joe and Tony and Tara, you know, we deal one-on-one with people. I've met you all in real life, some Tony on Monday night, and I've known you for years, and we've built up a relationship. And if you ever know somebody that needs sales training or marketing coaching, like I'm sure, I hope you would come to me because you know me, right? You know people you know, like, and trust. And you can't force. Sometimes that trust can take years to develop. So the whole thing is, when on Monday night at CAPS, we had Meet the Experts, and I tested this thing out on some live humans, because usually when people show up, they tell you their job title. Go, hi, I'm a business coach. Oh, wow, exciting. You're the first one I met today, but I met 3 yesterday and 5 the week before. Hi, I'm in real estate. Oh, it's conversation killers. Giving your job title does not do anything for me. What makes you different, okay? You've got to, some of the skill in selling is looking at that person and going, I can offer you 10 things. Which one do I think you might be most interested in? Are you having it hard to find prospects? Because finding prospects is one of the first steps. So you found your prospect. Now what do you say to them? That takes practice. And what we found out on Monday night is that when we start off and saying, you know, I do this and I do this and I do this, it's just like, oh, how exciting. Poke my eyes out, boring. So how can you say what you do in a more exciting way, right? That's the whole thing about ditch the pitch. What are the results and outcomes your clients get from working with you? One lady, she's an executive coach, and if you say executive coach, oh yeah, I know what you do. Now she says, I tap into your genius so you get more out of your life and career. I tap into your genius. It's like, oh, I'm a genius. She acknowledges I'm a genius. All of a sudden, she's like, you've just become my new best friend, right? It's just like, oh yeah, by the way, I do executive coaching. That's how I help you tap into your genius, because I'm a genius executive coach. So it sort of sets the platform that the stranger you just met helps me look like a genius. It's like, it's almost instant empathy. You know, if you just say you're a coach, and people have preconceived notions of that. And that's why you have to figure out, what's the outcome? What do people get out of dealing with you? I know Tara's on this call, and she has this really great business, singular luggage. And it doesn't look good, though you need the 3D graphics to really make this shine, but that's a picture of her kid on her luggage. And for example, you know, when I first met Tara, and it was like, okay, so you got this not cheap luggage, really good quality. It's got all the latest, it's the right size. So how are you going to sell this? One-on-one, you know, business to consumer is going to be hard to find people, because how often do you buy luggage? Honestly, once every 10 years, 5 years, depends on how much you travel. I've got a 25-year-old suitcase because I use it once every other year or something. It's one of those big ones. So, but you know, when I was at the gym and I was going, corporate, promotional, there's especially in sales, you know, they have the annual sales trip. There's always prizes for being the top salespeople. There's a prize for coming to convention and earning the right to brag you made your quota. And they're always, you know, if you've got 100 sales reps and they're always in airports, what better thing to do than to have something like my Vistaprint banner behind me is on your luggage. It's like, you've got, again, it's not branding. It's like, what's the problem you solve? So people will stop you and go, hey, I've got that problem. Help me, help me, help me, help me. It's always identifying the results and outcomes that you have. What problems do you solve for those people? Not your method, not your programs. Nobody's interested in package A, B, or C until they realize, you get me, okay? You understand my problem. You've solved this before. How can you help me? So that's really the essence of ditch your pitch, of what do you do for others, and do it in a way that's light, entertaining? And the key nugget to all of this is like, so do you know anybody who has a sales force and travels a lot? Question, right? Pause, let them answer. Because maybe the person you're talking to, say Tara, say you go to the mompreneurs group, for example, and they're probably not your clients, but who are their husbands working for? Maybe their husbands are professional sales reps. Maybe they work for a company where they have the annual. Maybe they're even in finance, but they know I pay $100,000 each year for these sales reps just to go and have a fling in Hawaii. And they're probably a little pissed off, but they don't understand how hard selling really is. And yeah, you need that perk to keep going with the rejection every day that you get. So even if they're not working in sales, who do they know, right? So that's why you always have to, if you're not my target audience, but who do you know? And that's why ask the question, if that's appropriate, is, do you have business insurance? Oh, you do. Who do you know that doesn't? Do you belong to a women's group where I can come and talk about, the perils of not having insurance, of not having a will? I mean, there's nothing worse than not having a will or power of attorney, and leaving it up to your loved ones to figure out. So you got to figure out what's the pain, where's your potential target hanging out, how can you engage? And unlike the scripted version, I say have at least five different versions of how you can introduce yourself. So yeah, I'm Patty, I'm the business sales coach. I help you double and triple your sales. It's like, oh yeah, prove it. What about, I can help you have fun and make more money? Interested? I asked you a question, be polite and let them answer. That's one of the secrets to selling, is that at some point you're going to say, well, do you think I can help you? For example, here's my shameless self-promotion. It's something I came up for as my New Year gift to people. And for being on this, you get a special deal. One thing is, marketing doesn't come at the snap of a finger. No matter how good you are, it comes with reflection. It comes from asking people. It comes from testing it out. So if you come up with 5 different ones, then if you go out networking 5 times in a week, try different ones. See, are you making people's eyebrows go up in intrigue or in confusion? Read the body language, right? If you say something a little outrageous, does it get a chuckle? Does it make people, because if you make people laugh, they relax and they're more open. They trust you if you make them laugh. That's why you have to bring the fun into your business. I always say, if you're not having fun, then who cares about the money? And the more fun you have, the more money you will make, because fun attracts the right people. So what I'm saying is you try to have 5 different ones, and it's the iterations. And as you put it on Facebook and say, hey guys, here's my 5 different ones. Which ones attract you? And you'll find sort of the left brainers go for that and the right brainers go for that. And some say that really sucks. And you need that feedback, Pro athletes, in the Super Bowl, they don't just show up and go, oh, I'm going to kick a few balls around and throw them around. They practice every day. And what do most entrepreneurs do? Is they practice on potential clients, and that's a crime. And that's why I set this up. So what I do is rehearse with people so it comes natural. Just like this is my first webinar on Ditch the Pitch. And, if you see it again in 6 months, it's going to be a lot better, because it's the first time I said this, and I don't know why I don't see you on the screen. So I really want to do some live coaching, and I have no idea how to bring you on the screen. So I apologize for that. So my offer is, usually my one-time sessions, I do one-on-one coaching, I do group coaching, I do something called the Business Booster Shot, which is on my website, and it's like an unlimited access to me and my brain and expertise for a year at $300 a month, which is pretty remarkable. There's that program, but there's also just a one-time. Normally I charge $350 for a one-time session. And I thought $147 for just the Ditch the Pitch. So we talk, because most of you on this call are experienced people. You've been selling your stuff for years. And so normally $147 for, if you're on this call $97. It gives you a session with me. We'll talk about ditching your pitch. So come across as a normal human being, as yourself. It's gotta be the words that come out of you. And sometimes, as we did this practice at the Professional Speakers Association on Monday, is that I can give you feedback and go, you're the fun guy? No, you're not. You're coming across as a robot. And that was the magician guy. And he's just, once I called him on it, says, no, you cannot do that. If you're the fun guy raising energy, then I want to see it, okay? It's like bringing me in and saying, I want this corporate executive. It's like, that's not me, okay? You got to be yourself. So again, if you're interested, it's $97 plus HST. Just send me an email. We'll set it up for next week. We'll hone your pitch so it's not a pitch, because I don't believe in selling after being a sales coach. I know I'm full of contradictions, but just let me check here. Okay, thank you, Karina. I am using the webinar, but anyways, I'm really sorry about that. I can set up another time to do this again, because I really wanted to do some hot seat coaching. But since I know some of the people on there and I've researched who you are, and Karina, we've got a call set up for next week anyways to talk further. And anyways, I hope you enjoyed this short webinar, and see you next time. All right, take care. Bye.